All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a project that is, well, it's absolutely colossal. We're talking about a man-made waterway that could fundamentally rewrite the trade map of Central Asia and shift the entire balance of power across a continent.
So, let's get right to the heart of it. The big question we're tackling is this. Can you really build a 700-kilometer canal to, bust an entire resource-rich region out of its geographic prison? Can a massive feat of engineering really break the chains of geography?
To really get why a project this ambitious is even on the table, we've got to first understand the enormous economic hurdle that these countries are up against every single day.
Okay, so you've got this region. We're talking Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and it's sitting on enormous amounts of oil and gas. I mean, just massive wealth. But here's the catch. What good is all that wealth if you can't get it to the world market easily? Take Kazakhstan. It's rich in oil, but it's hundreds and hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean. It's a classic case of being resource-rich but route-poor, and they're forced to rely on these long, expensive land routes through their neighbors just to do business.
And this number right here, 80%. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? When the vast majority of global commerce is happening on ships, being landlocked is kind of like showing up to a Grand Prix on a bicycle. It puts you at a huge, permanent disadvantage. So, how do you solve a problem of geography? Well, apparently, with a jaw-dropping display of engineering. But take a look at the audacious solution that's been proposed to give Central Asia its own route to the open sea. So here's the big idea. You literally carve a 700-kilometer channel right through southwestern Russia. The goal? To connect the Caspian Sea, which, let's be honest, is basically a gigantic inland lake, to the Sea of Azov. And from there, boom, you've got a straight shot to the Black Sea, the Mediterranean, and all the world's oceans. It's an incredible vision, on the same scale as the Suez or Panama canals, and it's got the powerful backing of Russia.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that this isn't just some minor upgrade to the old Soviet-era Volga canal. No way! This is a completely different beast. It's shorter, it has way fewer of those time-sucking locks, and it is much, much deeper. And just look at the ship size. We're talking about going from a max of 5,000 tons to vessels over 10,000 tons. This would totally transform it from a limited local waterway into a genuine artery for global trade.
But, dreaming up a canal is one thing. Actually building it, that's a whole other story. And to turn this vision into reality, they have to overcome some truly towering obstacles.
First up, we have a fundamental challenge, and it's a big one: physics. You'd think, right, that you just dig a ditch, and the water flows from the Caspian out to sea. Simple. Except, nature doesn't quite work that way.
Yep, you heard that right. To even start the journey, a ship in the Caspian has to be lifted 27 meters. We're talking about the height of a 9-story building, just to get to the level of the open ocean.
And believe it or not, it gets even more complex. The path the canal has to take actually goes uphill over some high ground. That means ships would have to be lifted a mind-boggling 54 meters above the Caspian at the route's highest point. To do that, you need a series of gigantic hydraulic locks, kind of like a giant water staircase for ships. And each step on that staircase needs an incredible amount of water just to operate.
So that leads to the obvious question. Where on earth does all that water come from? Well, it would have to be pumped in from other rivers. And that's not just insanely expensive, it's also a huge environmental gamble. You're talking about potentially disrupting entire ecosystems, threatening all sorts of aquatic life. And of course, local communities who depend on that water are already raising the alarm. Oh, and did I mention the cost? It was estimated at over $10 billion way back in 2007. You can bet it's a whole lot more than that today.
But look, a project this huge is never just about concrete and water. It's about power, it's about politics. So let's look at the geopolitical chessboard. If this canal actually gets built, who are the winners and who are the losers?
And this really lays it all out pretty clearly, doesn't it? Russia and China are the big potential winners. For China, this is another perfect piece of the puzzle for its Belt and Road Initiative, a shiny new, faster route to get its goods to Europe. But the potential losers are a really big deal too. Think about Iran and Pakistan. They've poured years and a ton of money into building up their own ports like Chabahar and Gadar, specifically to be the gateways for Central Asia. This canal, it could make those huge strategic investments way less important, almost overnight.
And this quote, this right here, is the absolute bottom line. Since the entire canal would be on Russian soil, Moscow would essentially hold the keys. They would have complete control over Central Asia's main access to the ocean. So this isn't just about economics. It's a giant geopolitical lever, a tap that Moscow could tighten or shut off, giving it incredible influence over the entire region.
So all of this brings us right back to where we started. Is this continent-shaping project a realistic vision for the future, or is it just going to stay a fascinating what-if on a blueprint somewhere?
And you know, that's the tough reality. Even with heavy hitters like Moscow and Beijing behind it, you've got this perfect storm of immense engineering challenges, serious environmental red flags, and a price tag that is just astronomical. It's a really tough sell, and it's exactly why a lot of experts are skeptical it will ever get done.
In the end, the fate of the Eurasia Canal really boils down to one thing. Is the strategic reward of literally reshaping a continent's geography worth the astronomical cost and the immense risk? And maybe the even bigger question is, what would a world where it is built actually look like? For now, though, it has to be one of the most ambitious and most uncertain mega projects on the planet.